we are live. Let me just check. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Ayo Gutierrez. I'm your book coach, and I'd like to greet everyone. I'd like to say hi to everyone who is watching me right now. Okay, I'm just checking everything if everything is really okay. Okay, I can see my face on my daughter's laptop already. All right, we're live. Okay, first of all, I'd like to invite all of you to please share this live video on your newsfeed, on your Facebook wall, if you may, so that those who love poetry, my brother said my topic for tonight is boring. Boring to those who don't love it. But my goal for tonight is to convince, not really convince, but I'm here to tell you of the world of poetry, the one that I fell in love many, many years ago. So now first of all, I'd like to take a few minutes of your time, of my time, to thank you. Thank everyone who supported me, who supported my husband in our recent success, having reached the number one bestsellers rank for our two books. Yeah, so that's one, two books, and I hope that you were able to get a copy. You were able to download a free ebook during the time that it went, that we gave a free promotion of this one. So thank you for adding a badge here that says it's an Amazon bestseller. And I hope that you are enjoying your read. If you can leave a review for us, especially if you can write one on Amazon, we truly appreciate the gesture. So thank you so much. And of course, I'd like to thank you once again for making it number one as well here in his collected poetry. Thank you. Both of these successes happened within the week. So although I am feeling a little bit exhausted this week because of so many things, having this small wins are really a game changer for both of us. So now, I'd like to invite you more to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so. That's Ayo Gutierrez TV. And if you want to know more about my publishing ventures, if you want to find out about the book services that we provide, so you can head to our Facebook page, which is GMGA Publishing. Yeah, you heard it right. That's GMGA Publishing. Also, I'd like to take this time to congratulate a dear friend of mine who also got bestseller status on Amazon this week. So it's a back-to-back win for both of us. Say hi. I'm saying hi to my friend Luz Viminda Rivera from Tarlac. You should see her book. I just don't have the copy yet. The book has not arrived. So, but then she's the author of a gift. That's a gift one and a gift two. And just recently she released her poetry book called Crossroads, A Poet's Life Journey, wherein about 83 poets were included. And I'm so happy to tell you that I am a part of that endeavor. Actually, in all her books, so I was the editor, and she also contracted GMGA as its publisher. And we also illustrated the book, and it has become an Amazon bestseller. So books gift to and the Crossroads achieved that status. So congratulations to you, my friend. And of course, I'd like to greet another friend of mine, Doc Gigi Sunga, um, one of the most special people that I'm working with right now on another book collaboration, which will be out this month. So we're going to have a big bang about this, what's going on. So ngayon, medyo ano pa, in the works, but you will soon hear about it, what we are working on, and I'll be showing you bits and pieces of this project. And I'm sure that it can help a lot of people right now. Where we are right now, it's a very important book to read. Okay, so Again, thank you so much for watching me tonight, and I hope that you will learn something. You will learn a lot of things about poetry. Okay, are we ready to dive into the topic? Because if you are, then I am ready as well. And last announcement. Okay, dami nating announcements. Last announcement is I am actually launching. I'm holding the first poetry camp on Monday to Friday. No, Monday to Saturday, and I will be with young poets. I'd like to say hi to one of my dear sisters as well, by tied by heart, not really biological sister. My sister Anna Broa. She's the one who designed. She's the one who illustrated our first poetry book. Let me just get it quickly. We're always ready. If you don't know, our first book collaboration, Anna Broa designed this. Okay, it's really a pretty book. And what's more special is that it is a highly illustrated book. Kaya medyo mahal siya sa Amazon dahil talaga namang maraming colorful pages here. So she used watercolor for our book cover and illustrations here. Okay? So thank you so much. Now, let's go to my favorite topic, which is poetry. All right. Before I give you the 10 tips, and I promised that I would give you the 10 tips to writing poetry that inspires. First of all, let's define poetry. All right? And also, let's define what is a poet. Kasi pag hindi natin naiintindihan yon, baka um, hindi natin makuha yung mga pag-uusapan natin later on. Okay? And it's important to know because not, the thing is, anyone can write a poem. All right? Anyone. But not everyone can write a good poem. That's the truth. Okay? Marami kang mababasa mga poems on the internet. We have modern day poets. But it's good to know, it would be good to know for you, it will be good for you to know the rudiments of writing poetry. You have to know kung ano yung mga basic elements. You have to know the poetic devices, different forms, tones, shapes. So maraming, parang hindi nga kakasya yung isang oras natin ngayon. Because actually, I was mulling about it and sabi ko, kaya pa bang i-discuss lahat in just 1 hour? But probably we'll just come up with another one. Pero sige, let's plunge into this topic by just defining what poetry is. Okay? So ngayon, a few months ago, I guess, I posted on my Facebook and asked my poet friends, no, specifically I tagged them. Tapos tinanong ko sila, how do they define poetry? Kasi minsan mas madili siyang i-define on a personal, based on your personal understanding or appreciation for the art. All right. So some of the most important or my most favorite definitions of poetry are this one. Okay, said by Madeline, one of my friends as well. She said, "If words are my escape, then poetry is my salvation." O, di ba? Ibang hugot ng mga poets eh. Okay? And then there's another one from Fiona Merrick. She said, "Poetry is truth to me." From my friend, no, Kelly Glover, she said, "The bones of emotions, spoken and built into a familiar structure, nailed together with truth." Okay, that's the second time you heard about the word truth. Jesse James said, "Poetry is the chiseled marble of language." Ang ganda ng pagkakasabi niya. Very poetic, right? So, another one from Andrea Lodge, she said, "Poetry is one of the reasons I'm still alive. This is the soundtrack to my life. Poetry is my wings." Right? And then a very personal definition of this one, T.C. Taylor said, "These are written words that moves me. And that is poetry." So there's a lot of people logging in. Nakikita ko sa kabilang laptop. And I just would like to say hi to everyone who's watching me right now. And if you can just take a moment to just share this on your Facebook wall, I would truly, truly appreciate it. All right? Especially to those who may want to hear about this subject, those who are thinking about writing one but they don't know how to write a poem. And by the way, do not say poem, all right? I grew up in the Philippines hearing I'm not gonna shame anyone, but hearing that the way to pronounce it is poem. So this is not a poem. It's either a poem or a poem. All right. So that's the first lesson in poetry. Now another one from one of my friends, Imran Kanbayo, the author of Poems Written Under My Grandfather's Tree. He said that poetry is the language of feeling, sinking in the ocean of words to erect a palace of ideas in the art of poet or poetess. Di ba talaga napaka taas na kanyang definition to that. And then S.J. Hooper, who writes a lot of haiku, said, I wish I knew. Alright? And then to one of my close friends as well, he said, poetry is painting with words, illuminating the dark ledge of human actions, dreaming of possibilities in the mental state. And mind you, my dear audience, all of the definitions I'm reading came from poets themselves. One of my friends, David Wagner, said the art of poetry is a free flow of ideas and unusual connections. And I agree to that. And from one of my favorite friends, Mai, alright, she's from Finland, she said, to me, one of the biggest differences between poetry and prose is, okay, I will discuss it later, is that a poem leaves so much open to interpretation. There's room for everyone to make it their own. But also, when you do connect with the poem, there's an instant recognition of mutual understanding. Like, I know what you mean. So that's the thing about poems, because if you can read between the lines, you know somebody understands. So it can create a real special sense of connection. And I resonate with her with this definition of poetry. And probably last but not the least, from one of my close friends as well, Aurelian Thomas, he said, heartfelt emotions and powerful images unexpectedly weaved together through the various devices offered by a language. All right? And according to Thomas Gray, it's the thoughts that breathe and words that burn. You see the gravity of the words pronounced. Ay, syempre, di ko kakalimutan, baka magtampo sa akin. I hope that you are taking down notes to some of the definitions because they are really good. They did not come from the books. No? Hindi ko yan sinearch sa Google. This came from the poet themselves. So, malalim ang hugot ng mga definition na to. Alright? Okay, my friend Bianca from Pampanga, she said, poetry is an artistic way of introducing the world's philosophies and its wonders. It is also a way to let the unseen be noticed, unheard through thoughts be spoken with comfort and confidence, and speak our truest and deepest truth. That's the third time I said the word truth, or I mentioned the word truth. All right? So now that you have heard a lot of definitions about poetry, alamin natin ngayon, anong pagkakaiba nito sa prose, okay? P-R-O-S-E. What are the differences between a prose and a poetry, okay? So both, no, ang similarities is that they are both forms of literature. When you say prose, this is the ordinary, regular language that we use, like the day-to-day, how we converse. Ganito, straightforward, all right? And we use sentences and paragraphs to convey our ideas and thoughts. And there is a strict grammatical structure that we follow. And tulad ng sinabi ko, there is the natural flow of speech, right? It came from the word prosa oratio, which means straightforward or direct speech. So meaning to say, when you say prose, it's really about the logical way of saying things. You can find prose in essays, journalism, academic papers. So you get the gist of it. Okay, that is prose writing. Language is straightforward, and there are no line breaks. So we really use sentences to convey our ideas. All right, and you can. And the very obvious thing about writing a prose is we start to capitalize the first letter of the word for every sentence. All right, so ganun talaga siya strict, rigid grammatical rules. Now, if you use poetry is more about lines and stanzas. Okay, not really about paragraphs and sentences. Okay, and it also, the unique thing about poetry is that it follows metrical scheme with the elements of rhyme. Mamaya pag-usapan natin, do poems have to rhyme all the time to call it really a good poem? And it also came from an old word which means to say to to create. That's why if you have this poetry, a poem, it's full of decorative languages. It's full of decoration, no? Kumbaga sa buhok, nilagyan mo ng napakarami there. You have the headband, you have the things glimmering on your head. So that's how, what poetry is. I hope you're getting the gist of it. And then this is more about the best words in their best order. Prose is words in their best orders, but poetry is using the best words in their best order. Does that make sense? So you rely heavily on the musicality of the words. As a poet myself, I am very keen at listening to words, how they ring to my ears. Okay, it's like a song that when you hear, like a string of words that you hear, then suddenly the connections start to unravel, and you can now form something out of the words that you hear or you think. And it is reserved for expressing something special in an artistic way. It's an art. It's creative writing, right? And it expresses rhyme, different sounds and feel, and instead of using the complete sentences and paragraphs, it uses line breaks. If you can observe, right? And there's this use of white space. Maraming ganyan sa, lalo na ngayon, especially the Instagram poets, which do not really follow, like the modern poets right now, which really do not follow the traditional forms and structures of poetry. There's just a lot of new invented forms of poetry nowadays. Okay? So again, when it comes to, it's not that it's illogical, it still follows because you cannot call sun moon, right? So it still follows some things, that principle, but it's not very strict because of the different devices that we are going to use. And I'll talk to that later. And then shape can vary depending on line length and the intent of the poem. So who is a poet? After all the definition, is someone who can write poetry. The very obvious definition. But really to convey your ideas, your feelings in a way that really expresses vivid description of it. It's an intense feeling that's written down on paper. But not all your blabberings, not all the emotions that you have can be called a poem. All right, not just because you're angry then you write something that's a poem. That's no. There are elements that you have to follow. Okay, with that took about a lot of time just explaining what poetry is. It's because I really have to tell you the foundation. So when we go with our discussion now, you can appreciate what I'm saying. Okay, so to those who just logged in, I'd like to welcome you to my Facebook Live tonight, and we're talking about the rudiments of poetry writing. And later on, in the next 30 minutes, I will be talking about the 10 tips for writing poetry that inspires. Again, if you haven't done so, one of the things I'd like to invite all of you is to visit my website. I juiced it up, I beefed it up, so it looks new and improved. So that's gmgaentertainmentproductions.com. All right, so you can see all of my books there, my activities, some of my gigs. All right, now, of course, we will discuss about the 10 tips. All right, are you ready? Because if you're ready, then I am ready. All right, get your paper and get your notebook, and I'm ready to give you number 1. By the way, if you have questions, I'm glancing at my daughter's laptop so I can see if you have some questions right now. Ayan, nag-comment pa pala si Erwin. If you have questions right now, please type it here. I can now see it, and I will answer that later. Okay? All right, number one tip for writing poetry that inspires is know your goal at the very beginning. Just like any writing, a poem needs a goal. What is your goal for writing this one? Okay, that is critical. Because if you do not have a goal, you can spend hours or days or weeks just musing about it, but you don't know the direction you are headed to. All right? So you have a goal in terms of um, what you want people or readers to get from the poem that you are writing, or what kind of structure that you have in your mind. Is it going to be something long? Is it going to be like a haiku verse only? Is it going to be, are you going to try a new poetic form? But why will you use that? What's really the reason for you to write that? Because normally when I write, when idea hits me, um, I really spend a lot of time just musing about the theme and the goal. So why would I want to write this poem? I'm not in a race or in a marathon to just write a poem on a daily basis. That hardly happens. No, it rarely happens to me. Usually, I would spend weeks just coming up with a really good poem. Okay, so one of the recent what do you call this insight that I have is the one that it's a writing prompt, and the writing prompt here is meet me in the middle of your story when the soul is worn and wise. Okay, that is the prompt. And then I started writing about it, and I continued. Thick as the foliage itself, alive in the moss, covered trunks, root entwined. Here rains have dwindled and the sun comes out steady and bright. The beginning, now jotted out from our memory bank, is a formidable firewall festering our minds. What else is there to find? Rushing to the end is futile, but then we have become like forests, drenched with the color of moss and dead leaves, a stubborn mesh. So why did I read this to you? Because it's important for me to know my goal, why I was writing this. And my goal for this one is really about connecting this to a reunion with someone who I haven't met in the past, but that person is important to me. Okay, so know your goal. Do you want to inspire? Do you want to teach a lesson? Do you want to imbibe something of a philosophy, or yeah, it depends on you, right? Okay, that's number one. Know your goal from the very beginning. Second tip is avoid cliches. What are cliches? These are trite, overused expressions that we hear, especially when we are at school and we talk about cliches, and we keep hearing about as busy as the bee, as red as the apple, things like that, right? So those are cliches. Tired as the dog, works like a horse. Okay, make sure that make sure that you do not waste the time of your readers reading this. If you are a poet, you have to take on your personal insight on things. Okay, do not be confined in the same set of words that you hear. That's why it's really a challenge for a poet if you do not know the correct words, the correct labels of things. Because it's important for you to come up with really good image of what you are writing. Then, by all means, stay away from all these old cliches and come up with something fresh, something that is novel, uniquely yours. Okay? So that's number two. Avoid cliches. Number three is avoid too much sentimentality in your poem. Okay? This is a wrong notion that novice poets do. And that is, for them, when it has strong emotions, that's already a good poem. So there's this blunt appeal to emotions such as pity and love and jealousy, and the words they use are exactly how you want to say it. Okay, like I am hungry, I am sad, I am happy. All right, you have to come up with ways to think of describing something that do not really say these words. For example, you feel gloomy. You can just say, this is instant. Tonight, the stars refuse to shine. O, di ba? There's this catch that, the tone, the theme is solemn. It's kind of gloomy. You just don't say that I am happy. All right? Well, what else can you say? So um, come up with something that you can attach the feelings, or you can compare what you are feeling to something that is also relevant to what you are feeling. Okay? There's still this logic behind writing a poem. Okay, that's number 3. And then the number 4 is use vivid images. If you heard about strong imagery when you happen to read poems and they say, "Wow, that's really a really uh, great use of imagery in your poem." It's because when you are a poet, you have to take note that it's you acting like the lens of a camera. Okay, the lens of the camera. You see things in its minutest detail. If everybody sees the if everybody sees the garden, you see that one spot in the garden where it's hidden from the view of the common mass. All right, or let's say you're just out in the street and you look upward, you see the sky, and everybody sees the same. It's an azure, and then they see the different clouds, the cumulonimbus clouds or stratus clouds. But when you look at the sky, you see something else. Okay, it's like it's a macroscopic view, and then here you are as the poet, zooming in or zoning in to that detail that you want to talk about. I hope that makes sense to you. So you become a painter using words. You become a painter using words. You become the lens of a camera, right? And remember that when you are a poet, one of my friends told me that her definition of a poet is someone who goes through all these emotions without dying, because you live to tell the tale, right? So you feel all of these emotions, all these rushes of emotions flowing into you, and you can capture all of this with the use of words. It's really an art, okay? So you have to activate all your senses: sense of touch, sense of sight, hearing, smell, kinesthetic, everything. So, kumbaga, it's like Superman. Superman, all of his powers are activated, and he could sense more than the average human being. That's the way to go. Or like your dogs. Your dogs can sense if there's a ghost, according to my son. Like they would bark at night. And he knows that there's a ghost outside the house. So that's like it. The poet is like that. You only see this surface, but the poet sees what's behind the surface. Alright? So what is submerged? Usually the people sees what is just visible above, but what we see as poets is something deeper. Diba? Alright, I hope you like that. Now, number 5. Study and use poetic devices. Madami yan. If you're gonna ask me, probably, we're talking about a lot of poetic devices. So, get used to that. Learn about these things, because that will give you the technique. That will help you find the technique, and that will give flavor and this kind of distinction as a poet. All right. For example, the use of metaphors, similes, personification, onomatopoeia, irony, personification. All of these things, no, these are poetic devices. And some of the poetic devices that I love the most are the use of assonance, dissonance, and consonance. Okay, so if you want to learn about this, Google them. But maybe I'll talk about it sometime. But it's really about the musicality of words. So when you say, alliteration. For example, the alliteration is the repetition of initial sound of the word, like Bob, bought, bear. So you see the repetition of the letter B sound there. That's alliteration. And then when you have the assonance, that's the repetition of the vowel sounds there. So A, E, I, O, U. Right? And then you also have the consonants, which is the repetition of the consonant sounds. Now, if you have an interplay, a mix of all of these things in your poem, that will really be an outstanding one. Okay, so make sure that you know these poetic devices, because these are your tools in writing as a poet. There's still a lot of those things, but I cannot tackle everything right now. Okay, so make use of that. so that you can create a perfect imagery of what you want to achieve. Then, what number are we now? Number six. Number six is use concrete words and not abstract words. All right. I was looking for my. Oh my gosh, my brother Johnny. Johnny is here, one of my favorite poets. He's one of those grade A poets, someone you wanna aspire to be someday. Yeah, but yeah, he's my jelly donut friend, and his poetry is so different in a very beautiful way. I'm so lost for words, but thank you for watching, Johnny. I missed you. All right, Johnny, can you just help me here? If there will be questions that I cannot answer, help me. All right, be on my rescue. All right, number seven. Where are we right now? Use concrete words instead of abstract words. You know what a concrete word is, right? Like orange, apple, warm. What else? Violet, rough, smooth. Okay. But when you say about abstract words, these are peace, love, friendship, unity, rage, abstract. When you write a poem, you don't use those words like rage, jealousy. If your goal really is to convey that you are jealous, come up with come up with a narrative of how you're going to say it, because let me just insert this because this is very important. Now, there are at least three forms of poetry that we need to know. Number one is lyric poetry, all right, wherein the speaker is expressing strong feelings and thoughts. So this is about personal interpretation of things, all right. And then the other one is narrative. Narrative is a poem that tells a story, and the third form is descriptive. Descriptive, for us, the word implies, is the poem that describes the world that surrounds the speaker. It's like outward focus, uh, in contrast to the lyrical one, which is inward focus. Okay, I hope that's clear. So you can have the elements, all of these forms, interspersed in just one poem, or you can just combine this in, or you can just choose one or two. It depends. But I've written forms. I've written poems in different forms already. And one of my most favorite expression is really lyrical poetry. Okay, so I stopped there just for me to emphasize some important lessons about poetry. Numbers, where are we right now? Okay, number seven is this. Communicate your theme. What is your theme? Okay? You cannot just say, oh, my poem is about love, or my poem is about childhood, or my poem is about, what else? Uh, Suddenly I was lost for titles. See, these are just abstract themes. When you say themes, really, it's just about what is this poem talking about? Okay, why do you have to write it in the first place? What is the theme? Is it about you telling your long lost love and how you feel, being devastated for the process? Or is this about healing from a past wound that now you are trying to mend? Or is it about looking for a bright future for your children? So these are the specific themes that you have to weave into your poem. Okay, so that you don't get lost. Love is just a broad subject. No, it's just a broad subject. You just have to nail into one specific. Like I told you, it's about going to the or how do you call that? Microcosm of things. All right. So communicate your thing. And then number eight is subvert the ordinary. What does it mean to subvert the ordinary? If I am a typical reader, I can just express my emotions straightforward. Then that would be prose writing. Alright? But when it's poetic writing, there is now this fresh take on things. This is now your perspective of things. If everybody feels that writing a boss is uncomfortable for them, you as a poet will tell them otherwise. There's this side of writing a boss that they haven't experienced, that you have experienced. Does that make sense? Okay. For example, what's happening right now about the pandemic? Most people would say it's a curse. It's it's the worst thing that happened to humankind, and it is, in fact, one of the worst things because people are dying. But then here you come as a poet, and then you are telling them, "Hey, there's another side to what's happening here amid the pandemic." Okay, so now you take that experience, you take that emotion, and you write about it. Okay, and I was able to come up with a poem about the pandemic, and the theme of that poem is about Thanksgiving. It's about finding gratitude amid the things that we don't have right now, like the loss of income and jobs. So those things. You see, um, avoid the cliches, avoid the sentimentality, subvert the ordinary, give them something special. That's why when you bake a cake, it's like if it's just a plain cake like a chiffon cake, there's nothing on it, not even icing. All right, that's it. But when you apply poetry in your on your cake, then you put all the decorations, the icing, right? The flavors there. You can even put some of the not just the candles, but some figurines that you can put there. So you see, it becomes a whole new package, a whole new package. That's how you subvert the ordinary. Okay? And it's really about reaching the pinnacle of your expression. That for me is very important. Next is number 9. Number 9 is use rhyme with extreme caution. Okay, let's spend some time here discussing this use rhyme with extreme caution. But first of all, let me just have a break by asking you, if you haven't done so, if you can just please share my video on your wall. And then I'm inviting you as well to subscribe to my YouTube channel, that's Ayo Gutierrez TV, and to my Facebook pages, that's GMJ Publishing. All right, and if you are a poet, you can always join my group, that's the Poets League. All right. So now we're down to last 2 tips to writing poetry that inspires. And I'll have a recap before we end. All right, time flies so fast, my dear friends. All right, and maybe if I'm feeling generous, I'll be reciting a poem that I wrote. Yeah. So what's the use of teaching poetry if you are not doing a spoken poetry? All right, number 9 is use rhyme with extreme caution. Not all poems that rhyme are good ones. In fact, you don't have to rhyme all the time. Okay? You don't have to rhyme all the time. You see, there are the elements of poetry that you need to understand. Number 1 is the rhythm, the meter, sometimes used interchangeably, but this is the beat, just like a song. Okay, there are different types of rhythm and meters, and probably I'm not going to discuss it, but there's what you call the stressed syllables, the unstressed syllables. So if you're going to combine those things, like, let me give you a line right now. What's this? 2, let's say, stressed syllables and weak syllables, like, on this night of all nights of the year. Okay, you see there the stress and the unstressed. On the night of all nights of the year. You see? So that is one kind of poetic food, or it's called the anapest. Anyway, let's not go to that. Let's not go to that. But the thing about here, rhyming is one of the basic elements of poetry. All right. Usually, you find it at the end of the line. All right. And sometimes there's also this internal rhyming, right? The traditional structures, the traditional forms of poetry, Irish, Welsh, English, they really have this structure. Shakespearean sonnets, sorry, all right? rhyming was really a big thing. But right now, there's really a widespread problem that some poets really misconstrue how to use rhyming in their poems. So make sure that you listen first before you decide that it's right. Not because words rhyme together means they are logically connected. Okay? Sometimes you just come up with a word that would rhyme to the last word of the first line just to rhyme. That is wrong. That is so wrong. Don't do that. You rhyme because there is an interconnection of things, such as it reminds me of my favorite poem, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. If you can just go to that poem, you will see what I mean. Um, I really know I have memorized that poem many times over, but I keep forgetting. Okay, maybe I'll put it up later, and then let's just read all together. I'll do that now. The road not taken, so that you'll know what I mean when we say you use rhyme with extreme caution. Okay, I want you to listen to the first stanza that I'm going to read. The road not taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. So did you hear how the words rhyme at the end of each line? That was subtly done. That was um, done right. Okay. So I would like to invite you to finish reading the rest of the poem. All right. And then last, number 10 is the most important practice, the most important tip for writing anything, actually, prose or poetry. What do you think is that tip? To all my listeners right now, you can probably type your answer. What do you think is the most important tip when writing something? I cannot see your answers. Okay, we already have some questions here. All right. Number 10 is this. It starts with letter R, and that is revise. Revise. Revise, revise, and revise. In other words, edit, edit, edit. Okay? Revise. Your first poem is not the final, it's not the finished product. No, please no. Just because you came up with something, it's there already. Um, you go back and see if everything sounds right, if it makes sense, the poem is exactly the package that you wanted to happen. Because if not, then you have the chance to really polish it. Okay? Polishing is important. You're coming up with a masterpiece. So make sure that you spend some time polishing your art. Okay? So, time flies so fast that we were able to discuss that. This is my daughter, Brianna. She loves to read all my haiku poems. And that's where she learned how to read, actually. She's a kindergarten. And because of that, she became a fast reader just reading poems. Okay? So going back to the 10 tips of writing poetry that inspires, let me now just give you another rundown of those 10 tips. Okay, starting with number 1, know your goal from the very beginning. Number 2 is avoid the use of cliches. 3 is avoid sentimentality. 4 is use vivid images. 5, learn and use different poetic devices. 6, use concrete words and not abstract words. 7, communicate your theme throughout the poem. 8, subvert the ordinary by giving it fresh perspective. Number 9, use rhyme only with extreme caution. And number 10 is revise, revise, and revise. Okay? Now that I've given that, and there's still just a lot of things that I wrote down on my notebook, but I realized that there's just no way for me to really share everything. But I am sharing all of these things to my poetry camp students beginning on Monday, and I'm so excited to tell them about the different poetic forms, and there are just like over 100 of this. But as a class, we're going to try a few of this, like haiku, tanka, sonnets. So that's exciting, right? So I'm really excited to meet my students next week. Um, my dear friends, all right, let me get myself prepped for our question and answer. If you have, let me read this one from Lester. Okay, I will just look at this part so I can see if I am missing anything. Alexa, can you help me with the questions? All right. From Lester, he asks, in writing poetry, how are we going to balance creative and technical styles in conveying our thoughts and emotions? How are we going to balance the creativity and the technicality of it? Okay, that's a difficult question. I don't know the answer. No, no. All right. Let me think about it for a moment. Creativity and technical style. All right. This is about you, your own technique as a writer, and then you have this technical aspect of it. So here you have the creative side, you as the poet, your technique as a writer, and then you have this, all of these things that we talked about, the rudiments of poetry writing, poetic devices, forms, all of these things, the sound, the meaning of words, all of this. So how do you balance? Balance comes in when you first learn about the technical side of it, okay? Like I said in my past life, you have to learn and master first the rules before you can break them. You become more creative when you have a basis for your creativity. Okay, for example, you want to write a haiku. If you haven't written a haiku in its traditional form, how can you really invent a new form? Because for all you know, somebody already created it or invented a new form. In the case of my mentor, Aileen Artabios, who came with the Hainaku version of haiku, so she was able to do it in a very creative manner because she was able to master the traditional way of writing haiku. So then how would you know if what you are using right now is irony? Sometimes you're not aware that you're using that, but what kind of confidence or what kind of flavor will it give you if you know these things? Then you become a master of all of this basic, and then now you can unleash your full potential, your full prowess in writing because you have a basis now. Does that make sense? On a personal level, this is the reason why I still write in traditional structures. Mostly I write in free verse. All right? Sometimes I use blank verse. But I try all of these poetic forms. And one of the things that I'd like to do is to compile all of these poetic forms and come up with a poem for each one. Right? That is my goal. So, for example, I want to write Sestina or a daisy chain or a blackout poem, things like that. So, it's good that you have now, it's like learning the classics before you go to the contemporary. If you have a good mix of that, oh, your creativity will surely shine. Because you know that what you know, the elements in your poem are just it's interspersed with a lot of this past and new. Okay? So I hope I answered that. That's how you really balance it. Thank you, Lester, for your question. Mayroon pala sumagot online. On the spot. Okay. Now, thank you so much. You stayed with me throughout my life today, and I don't know. Please, in on this thread, I'd like to encourage you to please type the topics that you want me to discuss, the topics that you want me to talk about in my next live videos. It could be about anything, self-publishing, how to become a bestseller in Amazon. Probably I could share that secret with you. Yeah, why not? Maybe not. Of course. And just to give you a treat this week, another treat. All right, let me just get it. Okay, one of the things that I really love about what I'm doing and writing is my book collaborations. I love it when I reach out to other people and we combine the geniuses. There's just an outburst of all of these expressions, right? And so I'm proud to tell you, and I'm proud to present to you one book that I am very proud of. Is it? All right. I'll just make sure that it's showing properly. Okay, so this is Iwakare. Although it's spelled as like Iwakare, it's Iwakare. It means to summon. This is a collection of a traditional poem structure, which is tanka. That's a Japanese um, style or poetic form that has the syllabic pattern of 57577. If you don't know what it is, then it's time for you to get a copy of this one. All right, it is available on Amazon as a paperback and ebook. But for this week, starting on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, mark your calendars. I will give this for free. Yeah, another free ebook for you, so that you will appreciate, you will learn a certain poetic form which can readily adapt and write about, because it's really simple. Tanka is fairly simple, but you see the economy of words. Let me just read you one tanka that I wrote here. Summer fireworks are over, two clouds of smoke is all that remains. The wind will take us apart, yet we'll linger in the sky. Alright? So that's one of the poems that I wrote here. Why did I say I was proud of it? It's because I was able to co-wrote with my mentor, Miss Eileen Artabios. And if you don't know her, oh no, if you are a student right now, you should really, you should really know that she is a very important person in our literature. Aileen Artabias is an Filipino-American poet, writer, editor, publisher based in the United States right now. She's multi-awarded, has come up or has written and co-written, produced a lot of books, poetry books. And right now she's writing her novels. And I'm really looking forward to buying all her novels, because I tell you, I have her books. I have her books, and her books are my Bible when it comes to poetry. That's how I learn, because she's a really good prose. What do you call this? Uh, she's really a great writer. And of course, another one of my friends, Brian Kane Aney, who is one of the authors of this book. Okay, I'd like you to have this copy so that you will appreciate all the things that I shared with you about the 10 tips to writing poetry that truly inspires. This is a really great collection. You will find hundreds of tanka verses in this book. Okay? So, yeah, don't forget the date. That's going to be on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I am going to post about it. I will post one on my Facebook. And of course, I'd like to say that the cover design was made by my friend, the owner of Pixel and Feather, Miss Jinky RD. All right, she's also Filipino. I love working with our fellow men. In fact, I'd love, one of my advocacies really is to promote local writers. So if you are just watching me, if you're just watching my collaboration, especially with poetry, I make sure that I really include a lot of young Filipino poets to be in my collaborations, because I want to give them the platform, the stage for them to launch their career in writing, no? Starting with writing poetry. So if you are a poet right now, if you're writing poetry, I'd like to invite you to try out for this new anthology entitled Sensibility. Okay, Sensibility. That's actually like scent, no? SCENT, Sensibility. It's a joint project of GMJ Publishing and Pixel and Feather. And we are now sorting through submissions, but you can still make it because the deadline will be on July 15. You still have time to submit a maximum of 3 poems that's all about scents. All right? Scents. So if you are really interested, I really encourage you. I'm reaching out to you, my friends, to those who are listening right now, wherever you might be in this part of the world. Excuse me, said my daughter. So please join. Submit your poems to GMGA Publishing at gmail.com. Okay, that's GMGA Publishing at gmail.com. You still have until July 15 to submit your poems. Okay, so I guess we reached the end. We only have a few minutes before the clock hits 9 p.m. Once again, dear friends, thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for following me. I really appreciate it that you are there. You are sending me messages, inquiries, and just your vote of thanks and appreciation for what I do. I really do appreciate that, and I'm hoping that with this kind of activity, I am encouraging some of you to get out of your nutshell, get out of your comfort zone, and be ready to show the world, to showcase your talent in writing, because this is a great way to express your art through spoke, through written words. Sorry, okay, and this is a good foundation for you. I can see all the benefits of of writing poems. It serves as a good foundation for you to other forms of literature which you might be interested doing in the future, because now everything is all about the sound, the meaning, the interpretation of words. So you are helping someone. Just imagine if you are blind right now and you haven't seen all of these things around you, and you are the only person among a crowd of blind people. How are you going to tell them the things that you are seeing, the scents that you are smelling, or the tastes that you are having? How can you possibly tell of them? You see, that's where poetry comes in. That's where writing poems comes in. All right. So thanks so much once again, my dear friends. I was about to say brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. I'll come up with another topic. But if you have some suggestions, feel free even after the video. If you're after the Facebook Live, you can still type the topics or the discussions that you want me to initiate on my Facebook Live events. All right? So that's it. I leave you with my favorite message, and that is ink your legacy. Okay? Don't forget that. Always ink your legacy. Start writing your books. Start thinking about it. Start somewhere. All right? So that's it. Good night, and thank you. Have a great weekend.